Hey, Guru Nation, welcome back to another episode of Random Musings from the Clinical Trials Guru. I've got someone that you might be familiar with, you should be familiar with. He's ECRG. ECRG, can we please get a special introduction, the patented introduction from you, please?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on, Dan. It's ECRG here, back with another episode. This time with Dan from the Clinical Trials Guru. Or do you still go by that? You're still the guru, right? You're the guru to me anyway.
Thank you.
You're still the guru.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. It has been a while. Hopefully we get to do more of these coming up here. Because I definitely like talking with you. You always got some good perspective on the industry, and you're always working on some interesting stuff.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Likewise. I know you've been doing a lot of videos, and I tell everybody, who in my YouTube premium memberships and also in the various academies like Latinos in Research, CRA, CRC Academy, all that stuff. I tell people, look, you should actually follow ECRG because he talks all the time about careers and different things like that on his channel. He's a CRA who creates content like all the time about being a CRA and what that means. And how is the channel growing for you? I guess we'll start there.
I could grow it a lot more if I was able to upload every single day. I do have a lot of other things I'm kind of working on too on the side. So I just want to I keep it once a week now. I can for sure get an upload in once a week. Every once in a while I'll do maybe twice a week. So yeah, the channel's growing great. I think I was going to say, I think one of the benefits of doing content in this industry is it's very niche. So there's not a lot of other creators and not a lot of other creators that can do it consistently. It's pretty much you and me that can do it consistently, as far as I've seen so far. But that's the key to success in YouTube, is being able to do it consistently.
Consistent. I think a lot of people don't understand. Chris and I had a podcast yesterday, like why CRAs, want to start their own sites and why it's not guaranteed just because you're a senior CRA. It's not guaranteed you're going to have a successful site. Like a lot of CRAs, I noticed, they're like entitled that they know a lot about research. You know a lot doesn't mean you're going to be a good site owner. But basically what it boils down to is you CRAs, that's like you're working like easily 60 hours a week, right, on average. Is that right?
Yeah, if you include travel in there, for sure.
If you include travel. So then on top of that, for someone to do a YouTube channel, which like you said, I mean, that alone could be a full-time job. It is for many people. I know for me, I spend maybe 20 hours a week, if not more, just on the YouTube. So for a CRA who's already putting in like 60 hours a week to put in like, let's say another 10 or 20, you're basically like productive every waking hour you have, basically.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Pretty much. I also do, on top of the YouTube channel, I also do a lot of client work too. Resume reviews, interview preparation. We do career consultation, just to talk to me on the phone and stuff like that. So I do a lot of that on the side, and we've helped a lot of people with that as well.
That's good.
Yeah, so I love doing that.
You've been a CRA now because I remember we've talked a lot over the years, but I've seen you go from what was it, in-house CRA to CRA.
I was a project specialist first, or project manager, assistant, or project coordinator, whatever the name is, based on whatever company you're working for. And I went to an in-house CRA and then a CRA. So, and I really started, Dan, before that as a contractor. That was my first role, just uploading documents into the TMF and naming them. I was getting paid, I think, $12 an hour to do that. So That's how I really got my start. So I really started from the bottom in the industry. And that was only a 3-month contract. It was not guaranteed after that. They made no guarantees. It happened to get extended for another month. But that's how I started.
So people, that's important that you bring that up. And we're going to get into your career a bit, and we're going to get into some controversial stuff. But people, this is a perfect illustration of why or how detailed research is. You started out naming files in trial master file systems. Like
Exactly.
even doing something like that, I think people who don't know, they just assume, okay, well, there's this trial master file system, everything gets uploaded. No, you have to be it has to be named to a certain way. There's a format you got to follow. Can you explain just that little activity alone that so many people overlook? The amount of detail that has to go into that, just naming a file.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally how I started in this industry. Naming a file. Yeah. I mean, typically you're going to put, there's like a study number. So let's just say it's like 102 or something. That's a study number. So you typically put that first, then you put the site number, then you put the PI's last name, then you put what the document is. Then there might be some like other subset information you'd put after that. And then typically you're going to end it with a date. And so I typically like to name my documents so I don't have to actually look at the document. I can just look at the title and know exactly what it is. So that's typically the best way to do it. Saves yourself a lot of time and effort rather than having to go and read through every document.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy because every study is kind of different depending on the quality of the people that are uploading the documents. So I, for example, looked at certain TMFs and they have no naming in there. So obviously I'm not going to go in there and name the documents now as a CRA. I mean, they
No
can hire
naming
someone else to do
convention. So there's
Yeah, none.
CROs that wow.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not going to say that's the CRO's policy, but that's just what people are doing.
So no one's enforcing that at that CRO. Someone's dropping the ball somewhere.
Correct. Exactly. So someone's dropping the ball somewhere. And so, if the client wants all their documents named appropriately, then someone's got to go in there and do it. And that's pretty much why they hired us.
Wow.
Over the summer. That's how I got my start. So
that was your first research job ever was,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's almost like a SWAT team for naming the files in a TMF.
That's exactly what it was. I mean, we did some other things too. Like we'd reach out to sites and collect documents that were missing and things like that. But the primary task was naming documents and uploading them into the TMF.
Wow.
That was the primary task.
So how long did you do that before you got to project management assistant or associate?
I did that about 4 months. But while, like you always talk about in your videos, as soon as you get some experience, change your resume. So I was doing that. I was probably in that job a week. And then I updated my resume. And I was starting applying aggressively. So we've talked previously about 200 jobs. I was applying aggressively. And I keep that mentality still to this day when I'm looking for jobs too. And I tell my clients all the time, keep that same energy and that same mentality, because that's really going to take you far and get you to what you want to do quicker. Even though it should be a lot easier now that you've got experience, you still want to keep that same energy and aggression.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So I've noticed from like our CRA Academy students, or even people who are considering it, and I'm sure you have too for your consulting, for your career coaching, the majority of people underestimate just how many places you're going to have to apply to. They just assume, maybe 5 or 10 is okay. And then they start getting discouraged after that number. And it's like, you haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Exactly. You haven't even put in any work yet. I mean, that's 1 day's worth of work. That's before lunchtime, Dan.
That's practice.
Exactly. Exactly.
So your career route after the TMF, you went project management assistant.
I did that. I did that for a year and a half, maybe, or so.
Okay.
And then I did in-house CRA, and I did that because I knew I wanted to be a CRA. And at the company I was at the time, those type of roles, they did have a pathway to get to CRA, but in that particular department, it wasn't as easy to get to the CRA role because of the experience. They mostly wanted oncology and Alzheimer's people, like people that were in CNS related indications. They had more openings for them. So, and I was doing more like renal studies at the time, and they didn't really have a huge need for people with that type of experience. So I felt like I need to get closer to actually what the CRA does. So that's why I made that transition, and it was a lateral move. I didn't get a single pay increase or anything for that role. So I went over there and did that. and that was an in-house CRA. But the benefit of doing that was getting closer to doing what a CRA actually does, but just remote. And so that's why I did that. And I tell people sometimes you may have to go lateral to get to closer to what you need to do. Not everything is just going to be up, 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 up.
Right.
Sometimes you do have to make a lateral move. Sometimes people even may have to go backwards a step to get to where they want to go. It does happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would you say? Because that's something interesting you said about the in-house CRA, and then the CRAs, they were wanting oncology or CNS experience. Do you think, because as an in-house CRA, or even let's say like a project management assistant, do you think it matters what therapeutic areas of expertise you've done studies for, like as an in-house CRA or as a project management assistant? Because obviously it matters for a CRA or a coordinator, but do you
Yeah.
think it matters because those roles seem to be just like more admin tasks? Do you think that, like from your experience, does that actually matter at that level? What kind of studies they were?
Um, I mean, I guess it depends on what your goals are. For me, my number one goal was to get to a CRA. So,
Hmm.
if I could have done oncology studies because I knew that was in demand, I would have done oncology. If I could have done, more CNS related studies because I knew that was in demand, I would have done that. But
Hmm.
at the time, they kind of put you in whatever openings they had, and those were the openings that I could take. Just going back a little bit, when I was in that contract role for a few months, they had offered me a permanent role, and that's the role that they gave me. So I took that role because that was a step up. It came with a decent salary for that type of position. Great experience. Wouldn't change anything about that. It's a great role. Getting in on the project management side is kind of, I'd say, it's kind of rare unless you get these kind of opportunities. Because a lot of people start as a CTA on the clinical side, and I felt like I had way more breadth of experience and a better foundational knowledge of how all the different units like data management, biostatistics, how all that stuff kind of works together for the project team, being on the project management side. So if you're given the option, I definitely would go project management to start, but it can be harder going back clinical after that. So
Right.
there's pros and cons with everything, Dan, as you know in this
Yeah, of
industry.
course, of course. It's. I guess it all depends on like what you want to achieve. Because I tell audience members all the time, look, yes, you can. They always ask, "Is it possible for me to X, Y, Z?" And I'm like, "Yes." And more often than not, the answer is yes. But you got to figure out what it is that you want to do. You have to figure out the pathway, because you can do a whole bunch of things, and there might be a shorter path to one, to one outcome than another. So you have to like really inform yourself about all those different options that are out there.
Exactly. And that's one of the great things about this industry in general is there are so many opportunities, there are so many options once you get your foot in the door. Um,
You ever worked? I would guess not, right? Ever worked at a site,
no, I've never worked on the site level.
but
No.
as a CRA, you've monitored.
Yeah. Yeah. As a CRA, I'm actually at the sponsor level now. So I'm not even at CROs anymore. And we can
Which
talk
one
about
you
that
like?
too.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Which one do you like better? You've done CRA for CRO and for sponsors. Which one do you like better?
All right. So me personally, I like the sponsor level way better. Um, a few reasons. The pay and compensation is typically better than the CRO. They run you into the ground less because you got to understand the CRO business model. They're not getting paid from the sponsor unless your CRAs are out there on the road monitoring.
Yep.
So that's just how it goes. So that's why it seems like the CROs are constantly pushing you to do visits. I hated always having to do those time cards at the end of every week. And for my CRO folks, you know what I'm talking about. I hated always having to do that and feeling like if I wasn't monitoring that week, or didn't have any visits scheduled that week, I was just, kind of nothing.
Hmm.
You'd always have to figure out a way to hide your hours. And I hated that. But again, I only took the sponsor opportunity I had because they offered me a CRA job. It's hard to get a CRA job, applying blindly if you're not in a training program. But they offered it to me, so I took it. You can't complain about that when you're given an opportunity that's kind of rare.
Yeah. Why did they offer it to you? Were you? This was the sponsor. You were the CRA already for the CRO, right?
I was an in-house CRA.
Oh, you were
I,
in-house CRA. I got you. I
yeah.
got you.
So
I got you.
basically, well, I know some of the things like kind of backhanded now. I would probably share that off camera, but basically, I shadowed a couple CRAs at the CRO I was at, and so I kind of put that on my resume too, and talked about that during the interview process. I always recommend you don't lie on your resume, but you can kind of embellish a little bit.
Hmm.
So if you've gone and shadowed one visit, you can say you shadowed 5. You could say something like that, but don't say you've went and shadowed 10 visits if you haven't even been one.
Right.
So
Or
and
don't
then
put senior. I always tell people, like embellishing, everyone embellishes a little bit. I mean, that's advertising.
exactly.
You're only focusing on the most positive outcomes possible. Everybody knows that. But to lie, we got people on LinkedIn putting senior CRA. They're actually putting my CRO on there because they see it from YouTube. And so they
Huh.
put that there. And then they ask me for help. And I'm like, how are you a senior CRA? First of all, there's only 2 senior CRAs in my company. That's me and Chris. So how are you? How are you a senior CRA? You're not a student because they put intern. They always put quality assurance intern. So I don't know what's going on with you. And they took it off. But people they think that you're gonna be able to hide during the interview. Like they're not gonna ask you things that's expected of a senior CRA. You got to be kidding me.
No. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're really cracking down on it now. Apparently, there was a lot of fraud going on, and I know the company I work for now, they're really cracking down on the frauds.
Yeah.
So don't lie. You can get blackballed from this industry quickly if you're known as a liar. And recruiters talk, hiring managers talk with each other across companies. So don't
Yep.
think you're fooling anybody by lying and doing all that stuff. So it's just not worth it. Put your time in. You'll be here before you know it, and you'll be ready to get to that next level and before you know it.
That's right. So what's next for you? How long have you been a CRA now?
Going on 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
I
What's
love.
what's next? Because you're ambitious. You're always pushing. That's what I like about you. What do you have on your
Well,
radar?
I think CRA is it for me. I don't see myself going any higher than that
Okay.
because I mean CRAs make great money. The thing I love most about it is the freedom. So when I'm not traveling, I can do other things. I can do YouTube. I can just chill. I can go visit people. I can work on real estate. I do that a lot now too. So I love the freedom, and that's not true of other jobs. Like, for example, a project manager, they're in meetings all day. How can you do anything? You can't do anything else if you're in meetings all day. You can't have
Wow.
any other interests. You can't do anything else. So I love the freedom I have. I love being able to, not show up to meetings because I'm traveling to a site. I love that because I hate meetings. I love I love, doing Sunday Fun Day in Brooklyn, New York, just because I have a visit on Monday. I just love the lifestyle of being a CRA. So that's pretty much what it's going to be, and I'm just going to, ride it until the top of the salary chain. And
Yeah.
that's
Are
pretty much
are
what
you
it's going
are you close to that?
to.
Uh.
No,
Okay.
there's definitely some room for improvement here, but
Yeah.
um, I've really enjoyed the company I work for. They do have a lot of great perks. Like I said, it is a sponsor,
Hmm.
and I really wouldn't recommend people to work for the sponsor early in your CRA career because they do pay well, and you want to get there. And if you're going to stay there a while, you want to get there at the top of the salary chain. So you really want to come in at a senior CRA level if you're going to work for a sponsor, if you can. Sometimes you can't avoid it, um, but like I couldn't avoid it. But I really would recommend people to get there um, to a sponsor kind of later in their career, just because the pay is well, the benefits are great. You're not going to want to leave.
Wow.
Um, you're not going to want to leave that fast
I
if
see.
you're
But
there.
why not from the beginning a sponsor? Because that's I hear from others they're saying the same thing. Sponsor way better than CRO as far as CRA is concerned. So why not from the beginning with a sponsor?
The reason why you don't want to do that from the beginning is because not a lot of people leave. So there's not enough opportunity to grow unless the company grows.
Ah, I see. So they like it so much. I got it.
No, yeah, people up the chain don't leave that
Hmm.
much, so there's not enough opportunity. Whereas a CRO, there's a ton of turnover. You know,
Okay, I
it's
got you.
shocking. It's
Yeah.
shocking for a site to have the same CRA longer than a year or
Oh yeah.
less,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
even 6 months. That's not the same at a sponsor. I've been on studies where I'm only the second CRA on the whole entire study. So
Hmm.
yeah. So that's why you want to kind of wait a little bit before you go to the sponsor. Get at least be CRA 2 or something.
I
If you
gotcha.
if you start from the bottom, and also they have longer requirements. Like for me to get promoted, I have to work there for 3 years,
I
and that's
see.
just to go from a CRA 2 to a senior or a CRA 1 to a level 2.
But
I have to
Wouldn't
work there at
the
least 3 years.
wouldn't the temptation be like, okay, because at the CROs, I mean, they're consolidating, so we go from like six major CROs to like four right now. They're consolidating, but the business model for CRAs was always work here until they piss you off, and then go to the competitor for a raise, like
Right.
20% raise, right?
Right.
Do the same thing. Go to the next one. You're basically going to have six opportunities in your career to do that. Work for all the CROs. Now it's four or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Can't you just do that at sponsor also?
Uh No, there's not going to be as many opportunities. Like I was saying, the CRO just has so much turnover, and
I
they're so
see.
thirsty for people. Like you should see my LinkedIn messages. I
Hmm.
can't. I used to tell people respond to like all the recruiter messages because you never know. Dan, it's too much. I can't respond to all these
Hey, you
messages,
know
man.
what? I got a good idea for you, man. This is like the one YouTube creator to another, and I want ideas from you too for my channel. Uh, Go through your LinkedIn inbox. Obviously, don't share names, and read them and react to those messages.
Okay, that's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea, man.
That's a pretty good idea.
You
Yeah, I'm gonna
got
do that. I'm
endless
gonna write that down.
content.
Actually.
Yeah, and you give me ideas. My idea to grow my channel, we'll go a little segue. We'll come back to
Okay.
was to do biotech stock videos. Number one, because
Okay.
I like it. I'm actually interested. So to me, it's not work to actually review these companies and look at the stocks. I like that stuff.
Uh huh.
But it exposes me to a bigger audience. And then a lot of those, it's already happened. A lot of those people interested in biotech were like, I wasn't aware that you could be a CRA or you can have a site. So like they're coming into the niche from a bigger, like the biotech space. Now you're getting into like research. Whereas if you just stick to just research, you're missing out potentially on that other, slightly
Right.
bigger audience. So
Right.
that's why I've been doing that, and they're all related. Like I'm seeing this is actually not unrelated to what you were just saying about sponsors. What are you seeing as far as sponsors? Because you work for a relatively big sponsor, right? It's not like a
It's
small market cap, right?
it's I would say mid-size. They do
Okay.
about 1 billion in revenue a year,
Okay,
one or
okay.
2 billion. So it's not like Pfizer that does like 50 billion. But
So they're probably like a $7 to $10 billion market cap company
hmm
on the low end. On the low end.
yeah, I guess that's low for pharma. But
Yeah, yeah. These biotechs I review, they're like anywhere from 50 million to like I try to do under 1 billion for the biotechs I review because the stock has room to pop.
yeah,
Um, so you're at a more established one. What I'm noticing on the long tail, all the small biotechs, they are all of them are outsourcing to CROs.
hmm
All of them. And I talked to three CEOs now on my other channel, the Clinical Research Circle. So all three have said they're at the mercy of the CRO basically, and like they wish that they could be like what your sponsor's doing. All they need is like a little more funding or one of their drugs to get approved, and they're done with CROs. They're done with big CROs. What do you think?
yeah.
Like, does your company actually use CROs for certain studies, or like how does that work?
A little bit, but we have a strong in-house team, and they've really been working on developing in-house. That's part of the reasons why I got the CRA job a few years ago.
Do you think that's the norm going forward, or that's rare? Like you're in an
Yes,
exception?
yes. One of my best friends works for Merck. He got the same kind of opportunity around the same time. They're building in-house as well, and Merck is, that's one of the top ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think so. And the reason is the quality of the CRAs. No offense to you guys as CROs, and I think it's not all your fault either. The quality of the CRAs is not as good. Um, for whatever reason,
They
I
work
think
them too hard, man. I think that's
they
just
work
what
too
it boils
hard.
down to.
And yeah, and you can't really get a foundational understanding of what you need to do as a CRA if you're just constantly chasing action items and chasing the next
Yeah,
fire and stuff. And
yeah,
it's really a treadmill, and it's a shame. And then people are just doing the bare minimum to get the paycheck, and until like you said, they get pissed off and they go to a different company because they know that's what they're going to do.
yeah.
Um,
You know,
so yeah,
another controversial thing related to this. I like having these discussions. ECRG. It's so hard not to say your name. I gotta. uh, at the CROs, another problem besides the overworked CRAs, you have these, like, I would say 5% of the time. Thankfully, it's only five. You have these super ambitious CRAs that do everything they can to impress their line manager so that they can one day be promoted to a
yeah.
line manager. But what that translates to at the site level is a complete jerk of a CRA. They're going out of their way to find any little thing they can so they can make themselves look good. They put their own rules into it. Like, we have one CRA that we're dealing with right now who's this exact personality type. The sponsor is cool. The sponsor, like, just do what your site does. We don't care about your SOPs. The CRA, he's trying to get promoted. He's like, no, you can't do it this way. I'm going to put it all in my report. So his report's probably like 20 pages long because
Jesus.
he's trying to impress somebody. But in the end, you know what my site's doing? We're like, hey, we got this patient. We've got 2 studies for this patient. We're not going to put him in this study because this guy is just like giving us too much of a headaches. And I think that happens a lot. And I think the culture that these CROs have built kind of incentivizes that kind of behavior in a way. I mean, you would know better than me because you've been there, but am I on the right track there, or like, am I off? Is this just
Yeah,
a rare?
I think there's a lot of problems with the way the business model is for CRAs particularly, but I mean, part of dealing with all that BS is why they get paid so well. With not a lot of experience, if you think about it, is necessary to get that paycheck and the lifestyle. So it's kind of a give and take, but yeah, I mean that's all the reason why working at a sponsor is way better.
Wow.
We don't have all the metrics. There's a lot of metrics at a CRO.
Mm.
We do have some, but there's not as many metrics that I'm aware of, and I think they just care more about you. I think partially because they have more money too. So I mean, but you just see it in a lot of different ways.
I think, yeah, I think I agree. I've heard the same thing. Quality of life way better at the sponsor level. I think one of the things is a sponsor and a CRO are completely different companies. Like, one monetizes based on site visits, like you said, as well as all the other tech stuff they try to sell.
Yeah,
And then the other one monetizes when they get a drug approved and they start selling it.
right.
So it's completely different incentives, a completely different business model there.
Completely different. And these sponsors, they got a huge bankroll. They've got a lot of money, a lot of
Hmm.
money. And especially, I know the company I work for, as well as probably a lot of these pharma companies during the pandemic, they just made out like gangbusters. They made so much money. They made more money than they have before because their expenses went way down during the pandemic.
Right, right. Yeah,
And they
all
were
this.
just focusing on manufacturing. They had no flights they were booking, no conferences, no nothing. So
Yeah.
they made a lot of money during the pandemic. So don't get it twisted.
So what's the future of monitoring? Is it the industry's pushing decentralized trials?
Yep.
Um, who's pushing that? Do you think sponsors are pushing that?
Like you're talking about where basically like the nurse or somebody will go to a patient's house and
Yeah,
do all the study visits and all that stuff there.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yes, I do think that's coming for some indications. Um, yeah, that's actually a pretty smart idea. But I think what's going to come sooner is definitely more remote monitoring. We've kind of been pushed into that because of the pandemic,
Yeah.
and I absolutely hate it, Dan. I can't stand it,
You
and
can't go to Brooklyn anymore. You have to go
I
on your
can't.
own dime now.
Exactly. I can't stand it. Like I have a new site or a new study, and the window is 26 weeks. That's half a year. The window is, so I go on site one day and I come back 26 weeks later, and
Wow.
everything in between is remote monitoring.
Seriously?
Seriously,
Was that
26
put in
weeks.
was that put into place because of the pandemic and then they just left it?
No, I think that was put into place regardless of the pandemic. They're trying to
Wow.
do remote slash risk based monitoring. Um, and so
Wow.
that's just what the window is. And so there's a lot of data checks that the in-house CRA is doing.
How do the
Um,
sites like that? I think the sites don't like that either.
no. Sites don't like that. Too many people hitting them up about things.
Yeah.
They
Wasting
don't like
time.
that. Wasting,
Wasting
yeah.
time. Like I've already uploaded that or yeah, now it's funny now that I moved here to Arizona, I'm going to get back into like actually doing the work at a site level, like coordinator, and eventually train someone else and repeat the whole process. But I got the opportunity here in this small town that I'm in to do it. But I'm looking forward to interacting with my CRAs and seeing, okay, is it remote monitoring or not? Luckily, so far, all the visits have been like traditional. We're about to get our first study, hopefully, knock on wood. But yeah,
Traditional, what do you mean?
like actual
What's the,
coming in like
right.
every 6 weeks, right? Like
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. The monitor window. So 6 to 8 weeks typically
yeah.
is kind of standard. But yeah, 26 weeks. I thought I was like seeing something. I couldn't believe it.
I
Um,
hate it. I do remote monitoring too. Like as a contractor, I just have like 3 small projects that I do, and one of my sites won't let me go back because they're a big AMC,
uh-huh.
and they're in San Francisco, which is like
Wow.
the last place. The whole country could open, the whole world can open, and San Francisco is still going to be shut down. So I'm never going back there basically because the study's going to end.
Yeah.
But it's a lot harder as a CRA and as a coordinator to do remote monitoring because if coordinator doesn't scan something, especially at an AMC, you're not going to get that scan during your visit. There's no way you're going to get that scan. If they miss it, they miss it. So
Yeah.
now it's an action item for later. Eventually, you have like 30 action items. They're all the same thing: coordinator, CRC to scan documents. So at the end of the day, what are you doing? You basically become an admin instead of being a CRA.
Yeah. You're 100% right. And that's one of the main reasons why I hate it and I think sites hate it. You miss out on that personal connection. There's a lot of things that CRAs do just to fix mistakes before they even bring it to the coordinator and things of that nature that can be done on site. And you can't do that with remote. Everything has got to be documented in some regard. It creates a lot more work. I tell people all the time, it was a lot more work during the pandemic than traveling, getting on flights, and going on site. And I fully stand by that. I worked a lot harder in the middle of the pandemic than going on site. So I
Even
was
with the
ready for things.
traveling and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So I was ready for things to open back up for that reason.
So when I'm sure you heard the news, I know you heard the news because you did a video. Like I think this was 6 months ago. Thermo Fisher bought PPD.
Yeah.
So okay, you have all these people that worked for the sponsor because Thermo's the sponsor, and now they're integrating with PPD. It's gonna be interesting to see how they operate because they're a sponsor now, not a CRO, right? So business model is not going to be the same as it once was unless they're adding the
Well,
CRO business to it as well.
now correct me if I'm wrong. Thermo Fisher does not do pharmaceutical drugs. They just
It
do
was
lab.
devices. It's devices
They
and
do devices.
diagnostics devices.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, unless they're going to be creating new drugs or they have a plan to, or just going to operate PPD as a CRO, I don't see that much changing for them.
Yeah. Um, the reason why I think they did it was they wanted to get so Thermo Fisher, besides creating the diagnostic, they actually the biggest part of their business is selling these kits, like diagnostic kits, to other drug companies.
Right.
So the idea is if they buy PPD for their early pipeline relationships, like they got these small cap biotechs that one day could be mid-sized biotechs like yours, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then they'll have more money, they're going to buy more things. So that was the goal. But in a way they're going to end up managing studies too. I
Yes.
think this is going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and if it's successful, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if more sponsors or at least like device companies don't do the same thing.
Yep. I mean, and we're only talking about predominantly the bigger CROs. There's lots of smaller CROs I've seen
Yeah.
too, and
Yeah.
mid-size. So there's, we typically only talk about, the Cineoses, the Icon, PPD, the PRA, Parexel. Those are the big ones. And but there's a lot of smaller ones too. I've seen too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, you can go super long tail on that. It's like the top six, which is now the top five or four. They control like 85% of the market share. And then there's everyone else, probably a couple hundred others that do the long tail. And then you get to like CRO like mine, DSC, as we do like the extreme long tail. We do like investigator initiated trials, and hopefully like 1 out of 10 goes to like an actual phase 2. But the long tail goes long. You're right. You're right about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, just goes to show there's tons of opportunity in this industry. And so when you're looking for jobs, Cineos, they're always going to have jobs out on Indeed or wherever you look for jobs. But you can look for those smaller ones too. Just do a Google search, look at a list, go on their website and see what kind of jobs they have open. And the great thing about working for one of those is you're going to wear many hats most likely. So you're going to get, you're going to get clinical experience. You're also going to get some project management. You might even get some data management. You're going to be wearing so many different hats. So by the time you're ready to move, you're going to have so much experience to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So the only downside though is your pay might be a little bit less, but still, I mean, there's pros and cons to everything.
I'm a big believer in small is the new big. And I think even for you, man, I know you want to be a CRA. You said you want to be a CRA rest of your career. I think you can do that. But I think like there's going to be potential opportunity at one of these small cap biotechs. And this is where you're going to have to geek out a little bit on science. You might get an opportunity to join an early stage biotech and get like stock options. And if you really believe in the science, I mean, you're going to be like one of the directors, right? So that's something I think a lot of CRAs don't realize. If they hone their skills at a mid to large size, whatever, CRO or sponsor, even better if it's sponsor, some of these small cap biotechs, they become mega biotechs. Some of them do.
Yeah. All it takes is one drug.
That's right. And
all it takes is one.
There's a lot of wealth. I'm reading this book, Walk with Purpose. This guy was a CEO of a small biotech, and he joined another biotech, and after they already made it big, and so all the original staff were there, but they were like all millionaires by that point because they all got like bonuses, stock options. So I really think small is the new big. There's something there with the biotechs.
Yeah, you're right. And the interesting thing is like these mega companies, they have so many molecules like just in the database. Just as an example, I want to say this without giving it away too much, but I'll just say I've worked for a company in the past or currently that bought one of these molecules, and the whole company was based on one of these closeted molecules from one of the big pharma companies, the whole company. And so they created billions of dollars from a throwaway molecule from a huge company. And that's all I'll say on that.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It happens all the time. I'm in a situation like that with the IIT I was telling you about that we're doing. A big pharma owned that IP. They sold it to the small biotech, and we're kind of lucky. It's not official yet, but that's the small biotech's only drug now. And really? we've been the CRO on the pilot study, so they're already talking to us about, okay, how do we plan the next study? So this stuff happens all the time, especially like right now, 2021 and beyond. You're gonna be seeing more of those.
Yep. So yeah, interesting times we're in.
Yep, absolutely. Times. So you want to talk more controversial as we wrap up, or we went controversial enough?
We went controversial enough. I mean, I was really just talking about the remote monitoring, and obviously we know that's coming in the future. And I think pretty much every study now, any new study is going to have some kind of contingency plan, even if it's traditional monitoring, to if there's another pandemic or another spike or something like that, or anything else that could happen, how to do the trial remotely or how to monitor it remotely. So that's going to be in every protocol going forward.
I'm sure you guys have, because now for those watching in the future, it's end of July 2021. There's a Delta variant right now. People are worried about that. Are you guys talking internally about that? Like what's the strategy and all that?
Yeah, so I mean, CRAs don't go into the office usually, but for the office employees, they're looking at sometime in September to bring everybody back.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So they're hoping that the peak of this Delta variant is going to be in the summer, and then by the fall.
well, they haven't even addressed that really,
Oh,
the
okay.
Delta variant. They're just basically going off the CDC guidelines. So if CDC says, "Hey, look, don't have people, a bunch of people together," then they'll probably close back the office again. Because,
It's
like I said,
crazy, man. Even the
they may.
vaccinated getting it. So this is insane.
Yeah, I
Insane.
don't want it. I don't want to be near it. I don't want to be around it. So
Did you have COVID? I had COVID.
no, I didn't have it.
Yeah, I had it. It was me and my wife had. I got my wife sick. She got mad at me.
How was it?
For me, it wasn't that bad. I didn't even know I had it until she tested herself because she was feeling like a little strange. And
Hmm.
as we were waiting for it took a day to get the saliva test back, or 2 days. Um, when I really started like paying attention, I was like, I can't smell. I just realized I couldn't smell, and then I had like chills, but I just thought it was because like I just exercised and showered, and when I was like rationalizing why I have chills, and but then when the smell, then I was like, oh shoot, I think I had it, and then the next day, and then she had the symptoms. The next day, hers was positive, and then mine came like 2 days later, but I already knew. When
Uh-huh.
hers was positive, I already knew mine
Right.
was positive. But yeah, I mean, I joined a study actually with Dr. Hazen. She put me on azithromycin and hydroxychloroquine, and I know those things are controversial, but like I felt instantly better when I took that. It worked for
Really?
instantly, man. Like I was towards the fifth day, sixth day, uh, the symptoms got a little worse, and I don't know if it was mental because I knew I had it at that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
but I was like lethargic. I didn't really want to. I was getting tired. Like at 4 p.m., I was wanting to sleep. So she said, "Hey, go to the pharmacy, pick these up. You're in a study now, compassionate use." So I took it, man. In an hour, like I felt not normal, but I felt way better.
Wow, that's crazy. That is controversial.
It is. We could get controversial. I did a video on it. I mean, at least for me, they haven't done enough studies, and this is why they're doing the study to see if it works at scale. She's since switched to ivermectin,
Okay.
so maybe for me it worked, but the data was showing maybe for the majority of people it didn't. I don't know, but I can only speak for myself, and I felt better like right away.
I mean, it could have been placebo, I guess.
It could have been, but I don't know, man. I literally like felt my nose way like clearing. Like
Wow.
within an hour, I was like, wow, I could breathe. The smell didn't come back for like a week, but yeah, like I could like start breathing a little better. I was like, okay, there's something here.
Your wife made out okay too?
Yeah, her symptoms were a little worse. Like she was way more fatigued. Basically, all the symptoms I had, but a little worse. But it wasn't like bad or anything.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I know a lot of people who have had it bad, and some people are still having symptoms months later.
I know. I know some
So
long haulers that still can't smell. That's
it's
crazy.
crazy. So yeah, that's why I don't want it. I don't want it at all.
The doctor, the PI of the study that I was in, she said that these drugs, the Z-Pak and the ivermectin especially, they help with the long haulers because something about the gut microbiome, the COVID will linger in your microbiome forever. But if you take these anti-malarial drugs or like things like that, it can actually kill it in your microbiome. So it will prevent you from being a long hauler. That's her theory. That's her
Okay.
theory. That's what she's studying, and I'm actually still in that study.
Okay.
But I'm not taking anything. I'm just in the study taking her vitamins that she has now. So it's interesting times, man. This I'll tell you that it'll be fun to follow this industry and see. But we'll end it on a good note. All
Okay.
this stuff, I mean, to put a positive spin on Delta variant, and who knows how many other variants are going to come out. It's making the industry busy, man. It's really draining resources from CROs and sponsors to focus on these things. So it's creating a huge demand for workers in this space.
Yep.
So it's never been a better time to get into clinical research if you're not.
It's never been better. And also they should have a lot more money because they, didn't spend a lot during the pandemic. So
That too.
so they should be able to hire.
That too. Where can people reach you?
You can you can just visit me on YouTube, youtube.com/elite clinical research. That's probably the easiest place to find me. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email me eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. Once again, eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. Any questions, or you want to get your resume reviewed or anything like that, career consultation, interview preparation, we do it all. And so
I see it. Yeah, I'm on your channel right now. You had like shirts. They were pretty cool. At one point.
Back then they didn't want me. Now I'm a CRA. They all.
There you go. Paul Wall. You got the Paul Wall.
Exactly.
Did he come after you yet? With
no, not yet. Not yet. I don't think they're famous enough. But that's really how it works, Dan. That's really how it works. When you're not when you're not in the industry, they don't care about you. They don't respond to you. But now it's a totally different game.
Now they all want you.
It's a totally different game.
Yeah. I think that's the goal for people. Get in. You're going to be in demand. And then start looking at these small cap. I think small is the new big, but I keep saying that. So enough with what I say. Listen to Elite Clinical Research, ECRG, a link underneath of the show notes. Great channel. Growing fast, man. Last time I looked, you were like half of as much. Now you're at 4.15K as of July 30th, 2021.
Yep.
It gets easier, like the more subscriber. Yeah, I've noticed that too.
You've been growing a lot too. What are you at, 20K now?
No, like 16.1 or something. But that's been growing quick because I used to take me so long to get 100, and now I'm doing it like in a week sometimes, which is crazy. So I think it does snowball.
The great thing I love about our this niche too is we're not doing controversial content, so YouTube doesn't flag it or demonetize it or anything like that.
I see.
Unless you talk about hydrochloroquine a lot or something. But
I did a few times.
But yeah, on my other channel, I was getting demonetized and flagged all the time. So I love
it.
Yeah, I mean it was music promotion and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
If people had samples and stuff, the record labels would come in.
And, they'll strike you for those things.
Oh yeah. So it's nice knowing that everything I upload is kosher and it's all original content and stuff like that.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, everybody go check out Elite Clinical Research, daily videos, resume reviews, interview prep, and just about like every week there's videos from ECRG. So thank you very much, ECRG, for coming on the show. It's still awkward to not say your name, but are you ever going to like reveal yourself? Like, I just want to know. Is there plans for this?
Yeah, when I'm on my own, like, so
contractor, like contract series.
Yeah, because I guess the ideal goal would be able to be a contractor and kind of use the ECRG brand, kind of as my company, and I can build little offshoots, like maybe a site or something one day.
Oh, something you're getting into the site owner thing too.
Maybe, and you already know where I'm coming to learn from. I'm coming to your program, so
thank you. Yeah,
I think learn from the best.
Well. I think you have a right attitude because you're not like a know-it-all. You know, a lot of these. I mean, you could probably have colleagues that are, I know everything about this. They don't want to learn anything new. So it's like, okay, well, you're not going to be a good site owner, I don't think.
Right.
And in your case, that's not the case.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I've actually been really big on paying for information this year. That's a new goal of mine to, pay for information and self-development. I've been talking a lot about that on the channel too. Like, don't be afraid to pay because it's really a shortcut to success faster. So don't be afraid to, pay for 30 minutes of mine or Dan's time in order to get the information you want and talk about your specific situation.
Mentorships, you're gonna all that kind of stuff.
Yep. I'm in a mentorship also. I paid for that this year, and it's been great. So
I like it, man. Thank you very much. So link underneath the show notes. Thank you so much for watching, listening. Make sure, I should have said this at the beginning, subscribe to Elite Clinical Research, and then subscribe to me too. Did you know that 72% of you who are watching this are not subscribed? Come on. What is going on here? That's like a travesty.
That's crazy, but that's just how it is.
You might have a little better metrics. I don't know. Look at the
I gotta
analytics.
look.
You'll see it's crazy, man. Just like, subscribe, comment, share. There's only like 2 main channels that are consistent in this space, and that's us 2 right here.
Yep.
So thank you very much. I appreciate it, ECRG, and we'll catch you guys all later.
Thanks, Dan.